Black Star Watercolor, a new art gallery, has now found its home on Aurora's main street. The gallery is curated by Susan Black, a watercolor artist who moved to Aurora 2 years ago and immediately immersed herself in the local arts community.
I just sought to find where else in the community I could meet other artists. And I did that by joining the Aurora Arts Association, getting involved in that show, the Woodburn Arts Center, I'm sorry, Canby Arts. But I did not dream I'd have this.
Susan has shared her work in the past by inviting guests to her home studio.
But I just open that up on select times, like if I'm like on an open house basis, and I invite people to come in. But to have a retail establishment like this is really a first for me.
Although the experience of opening a business was completely new to her, Susan says the decisions she made along the way felt very natural.
Somehow, I guess I just had this vision in here that was locked in there, and now it's coming out. And I try to be simple in what I do. You see that in my art, I think. I try to be very just simple, and this is a simple place.
Susan says her involvement in the arts community introduced her to the painters whose work will be on display in the gallery.
I knew immediately who I was going to ask, and I specifically asked these artists, and they said yes. So it wasn't a broad free-for-all kind of thing. It's very much directed as to who I wanted here, not knowing what kind of work they'd bring me, but knowing the kind of painters that they are. And they're all wonderful painters. They're just wonderful painters.
Black Star Watercolor features the work of 7 local artists, 6 painters plus glass artist Russell Glenn. Russell Glenn is also the featured artist in this year's Aurora Colony Days art show during August. Susan says an idiosyncratic feeling led her to include Russell in the watercolor gallery.
When I see his glass, I recall it started out in liquid form. Watercolor starts as pigment suspended in water. That's all that it is. You apply it to paper and the water goes away and the pigment stays there. So when I look back at the very basic element, it's liquid. And Russell's work is interesting on a number of levels with the liquid, in that some of it is very precisely planned out. And many watercolors are precisely planned out. They start with careful drawings, the color is carefully applied, there you go. But he also has pieces where it is just the liquid, flowing, doing its thing, reacting, and then hardening. And the same happens with watercolor.
While art and gifts will be for sale in the gallery, Susan says she wants Black Star Watercolor to be more than just a shop.
I want it to be a community gathering place, a place where people will feel comfortable to come in and certainly if they're knowledgeable about art, enjoy this really good art that's here. If they're not knowledgeable, come in and enjoy it. Maybe they'll learn something. I love to talk about art, and I love all my artists and I love their work, so I can describe it all. Maybe somebody wants to learn how to paint watercolor and they literally never have in their life. I can do that. I have basic kits of watercolor and I'm accustomed to working with people who are brand new. But I want this to be part of building a community in Aurora and in the larger, the surrounding towns, the French Prairie. We are very creative here. From the day I moved here, I can feel that it's a creative place. And I take a very broad view of creativity. We all have it within us. My particular way of expressing it is now with this shop, but overall in my painting. So that's like what my overall vision is for it. What would be the metrics of having achieved that? I don't know. There's not a certain measure. It's not like a business plan where when you execute it, you get to it. That'll just have to be a feeling, and I feel confident that I will know whether it's working. It's working.
Black Star Watercolor opens Friday, July 8th. Hours are 1 to 5 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays. For CTV Channel 5, I'm Hannah Ray Lambert.